Aggression is easy to recognize. It raises its voice. It shows its teeth. It signals danger clearly and early. Calm authority does something else. It lowers the voice. It removes urgency. It makes obedience feel reasonable, and that is why it is far more dangerous. Most people believe power is loud. They imagine authority as shouting, threatening, forcing compliance through fear. But real systems rarely work that way. They don't need to. The most effective authority does not demand, it reassures. A calm voice says, "This is normal." A steady tone says, "This is under control." Clear procedures say, "You don't need to think." Aggression triggers resistance. Calmness disarms it. When someone yells at you, your body reacts. Your heart rate increases. Your attention sharpens. You become alert, defensive, critical. But when authority speaks calmly, the opposite happens. Your nervous system relaxes. You lower your guard. You stop scanning for threat. And that is the opening. Calm authority does not feel like domination. It feels like competence, like professionalism, like safety. This is not accidental. It is psychological. Human beings are wired to seek stability. In uncertain situations, we look for signals that someone is in control. A calm demeanor is interpreted as confidence. Confidence is interpreted as legitimacy. We assume that calm people know what they are doing. We assume they have information we don't. We assume resistance is unnecessary. And systems know this. That is why harmful decisions are rarely delivered with anger. They are delivered with paperwork, with neutral language, with measured explanations. We understand your concerns. This is standard procedure. There is no alternative at this time. No threat, no visible force, just inevitability. Calm authority shifts responsibility away from the speaker. If no one is emotional, no one appears guilty. If everything is procedural, no one appears cruel. Aggression feels personal. Calm authority feels structural. And structures are harder to fight. You can argue with a person. You can resist a bully. But how do you argue with a process? Calm authority hides behind systems, policies, and expertise. It rarely says, "I want." It says, "The protocol requires." This creates psychological distance, not only for the person receiving the order, but for the person giving it. When authority is calm, the person enforcing it feels less responsible. They are not acting out of emotion. They are doing their job. That phrase matters. "I was just following procedure" sounds harmless, rational, even ethical. Aggressive authority feels morally suspicious. Calm authority feels morally neutral, and neutrality is powerful. History shows this pattern repeatedly. The most damaging systems were not run by rage. They were run by administrators. People who filled out forms. People who scheduled actions. People who spoke softly and precisely. They did not look like villains. They looked like professionals. Calm authority also reframes obedience as maturity. If you question too much, you appear emotional. If you resist, you appear irrational. If you comply quietly, you appear reasonable. This social pressure is subtle but strong. Nobody wants to be difficult. Nobody wants to be the only one raising objections in a quiet room. Silence spreads faster than fear. Aggression creates friction. Calm authority creates flow. Once a system feels smooth, people adapt to it. They optimize themselves for it. They stop asking whether it should exist and focus on how to function inside it. That is the final danger. Calm authority does not force you to obey. It convinces you that obedience is simply how things work. Over time, this reshapes behavior, then thinking, then values. What once felt wrong becomes normal. What once required justification becomes routine. What once caused discomfort fades into background noise. And because there is no visible violence, no raised voice, no obvious villain, the system escapes scrutiny. Aggression burns brightly and briefly. It attracts attention. It creates opposition. Calm authority endures. It does not shock you into submission. It lulls you into cooperation. That is why the most important question is not who is shouting. It is who sounds reasonable while removing my ability to choose. Because when power becomes quiet, obedience feels voluntary. And when obedience feels voluntary, control no longer needs force. It only needs calm.